Hello, everyone. So today, video transmission is about the human experience, the corruptibility of the soul, and which souls are capable of growing and evolving, and which souls sort of get stuck and why it happens. It's very interesting when we observe human experience, we have certain perception about life, about what human experience is supposed to be. And our own individuality, our own man-made reality veils us so that we need to make an effort to grow out of this experience. When we look at the soul, or, people who suffer and complain about life, they wonder about why they experience certain issues in life, why their life is so miserable. And everyone understands misery in their level. And this happens because we live in a divided state. We live in a divided state, what we want to be and what we are. So we never realize that we are not in the alignment. And so because of this divided state, we also create divided spirituality, a lot of division in general, fragmentation within our human reality. And so when we have this division between who we are and what we want to be, we create a perception of journey. We create a perception of divinity somewhere out there. And our soul doesn't speak the same language. It doesn't, rationalize life. It doesn't feel or perceive life through human notions. And that's where the gap is. And this gap has to be bridged through the awakening to the subtle being, which is our kind of more expressed existence of the soul. Because in the physical being, we are oftentimes veiled. So our soul creates different type of experiences for us. Sometimes from the human point of view, very cruel experiences. Every experience in our life is a wake-up call, because the soul's goal is to awaken us to our distortions, inclinations, negative perceptions of reality. And when we are not awakened to this perception, the soul, because it's wise, because it's connected still to the source, even though the physical mind feels somewhat veiled or disconnected, again, there's no full disconnection, but there is lack of awareness, and thus you can say disconnection on the level of awareness. So once energy is dispersed and one doesn't feel nurtured on the spiritual level or, existential level, you may say. So what happens is then the soul creates all kinds of crises, losses, different kinds of experiences. Sometimes it gives temporary reliefs also to allow the mind to see different extremes of this reality. And eventually, the purpose of the soul is to just purge whatever it has accumulated as distortion, as corruption. The soul doesn't understand how much time you spend to build something, or that it's very valuable, or that you put value in it, or that you have been working for 10, 20, 24 hours to get something. The soul doesn't understand it. The soul doesn't understand that you want to have fun and entertainment. The soul doesn't understand all your ambitions. And so there's another point of understanding which soul can actually learn and which soul has reached the point of corruption. And it also applies to understanding insanity, because very often we understand insanity in kind of very extreme way. We think that insane person is just the one who runs around, shouts, and behaves socially abnormally. But the actual insanity is the corruptibility, the corruption of the soul, which results in one's soul's inability to actually learn. And this happens when one's soul reaches this point of perception of self-grandiosity, superiority, that fundamentally it is not open to learning, because no matter how much we acquire here on earth, whether information, assets, or whatever, that's a part of our learning process. But as a soul, if we are kind of a less corrupt soul, it means we are more open to learning with humility. A corrupt soul doesn't have humility. A corrupt soul assumes a position that it has already reached somewhere. The corrupt soul, the insane soul, perceives some kind of finality on their journey. And that's why, again, if you look now from that point of view at everything that we have created on the spiritual level as a man-made spiritual perception of reality, you realize that through the down cycle, all our spiritualities, but the spirituality of insane people who have assumed superior position, who have assumed that their little glimpses of spiritual reality were some sort of achievements, and they spread this falsehood and information to other people. So a lot of times we see cursed people occupying, a position of authority in spirituality and spreading that insanity and delusion to other people. A truly evolved soul is a soul that is continuously in a humble state, knowing that there is, an insatiable, pool or ocean or whatever of information, eternal amount of knowledge on different levels, dimensions, frequencies, and it's impossible even to contain that while being in the body. And so the journey is never ending. Those people who assume any type of position are insane people. They are corrupt souls. Whether you call them insane in a social way, because again, this word insanity can be misunderstood, because it's not about your psychology. You may appear as a very composed person, a hypocrite, a spiritual hypocrite. You can pretend to be balanced and aligned, but you're not. And if you ever to come across the being who is truly a light being, a truly humble soul, you will be humbled by their presence, because you will realize that you are insane, that you're corrupt and distorted. And so the problem with the lesser corrupt people and with very corrupt people is that the lesser corrupt people, even though it might be difficult for them to admit and realize their corruption, there is still a chance with beings, with souls who completely dove into this level of insane grandiosity, an idea that they already know, they understand it, even because they don't realize that it's not about understanding and realization, it's about alignment. It's about being that, not wanting to be something that you don't even know. Again, most of the people go into these fields without reference point. And to have a reference point, you have to have that humble and advanced soul originally, to which you open. So in fact, you're not opening to anyone else to teach you, but you're open to life itself, to the soul, to your higher being to teach you. These individual souls, which are not open to the higher existence, they are against authority, the spiritual authority, meaning, and this spiritual authority is not a man-made authority. It's the authority by frequency. It's a divine authority, you may say. So they're not open to that divine authority within themselves. They rebel. They, even whatever knowledge they come across, they always assume that they already know it, they understand it. They don't dive deep into the subject to realize whether it is really true. They don't have this desire to question. They don't have desire to explore. They don't have desire to remain in a humble position in order to learn. So such beings, even when come across different writings, Siddha writings or scriptures or different other spiritual writings of other people, instantly, while reading them, assume that this information is theirs, because they're in that corrupt state. They assume anything they hear, and if it has any material value for them, it's theirs. That's the corruption of the soul. And these kind of beings have no capacity to learn, not in this lifetime, nor in any other. And there must be some kind of such a terrible experience that they have to go through in this physical reality in order to shake them up. And even that is questionable. Very often such beings will accumulate more victimization than they will learn. And so when people, again, foolishly assume that everyone has a chance to grow and evolve, look within and observe the quality of your soul. If the quality of your soul is such that one thing comes into your ear and the same thing exits the ear, you are not ready for this type of learning, because a soul that is humble, courageous, and yet very, sort of, it doesn't assume any position, that type of soul is open for spiritual blessing, for grace. It accepts and sees every experience, even the most difficult, the most challenging, as the way their soul is trying to pave the way to their evolution, to the ascension of their soul on the spiritual level. So they don't take it lightly. Insane people play with life, and they set their life on fire, stupidly, foolishly, denying the truth, averting from the truth, creating their own bubbles, rejecting different perspectives. Obviously, there are different perspectives, but I'm speaking about fundamental quality of the soul to acquire knowledge. Acquiring knowledge, again, knowledge is not information. Acquiring knowledge means absorbing higher frequency. A lot of souls are incapable of absorbing higher frequency. They will fall asleep in front of the higher frequency. The higher frequency, you have to be awakened inside yourself to a degree to be able to open up like a sunflower would open to the sun to absorb its rays, its radiation. And that is not enough too. A lot of people realize a lot of things intellectually, and they foolishly assume that that is their realization, that that is their knowledge. Again, there is a gap between what you want to be and what you are. Because what you are is by frequency. What you want to be is an assumption, is an idea, is an illusion, which can drive you crazy. And when the soul is corrupt, it creates illusions about itself. It creates ideas. It creates a kind of phenomenal life. It tries to live in some sort of, a dream. And a lot of people are like that, actually the majority, and yet we do not consider that socially insane. But spiritually speaking, it is spiritual delusion. It is spiritual insanity. Because when you are what you are in alignment, there is no what you want to be. There's only what you are at every present moment. That's the state of yoga and the state of an awakened consciousness in alignment. And when you are, you're free from thoughts and emotions. It means from delusion. You're not living in a dream. You are living a direct human experience in the physical body. You don't look elsewhere. You do not live in the projected mode. You do not try to portray yourself. You do not try to act. You do not try to put on masks. That's why you are the truth. And that truth shatters, disturbs illusion. An insane person pretends like they absorb information, they understand, they listen, and it's all just going nowhere because there is no capability to absorb higher frequency knowledge. All they can hear is information. And that's why insane people fall for words. That's why we have the corrupt spirituality, the delusional spirituality, the demonic spirituality of words and rituals, which is just a shell like representation of something higher, supposedly, which is devoid of essence, which is devoid of this very radiation that the light being supposed to represent. These are corrupt beings. And every corrupt being is going to receive the experience according to their corruption. Not because someone is going to punish them, but because their own soul will punish them for promoting misalignment. And what is the soul? The soul is a part of creation. Creation is that primordial essence, the vibration of the higher being. So when that is neglected, there is a dimensional imbalance. The imbalance in this realm. And so what happens then, by nature of creation, creation itself brings everything into balance. So it starts eradicating all these imbalances. And what you experience then? Suffering. What you experience is purgation. What you experience is facing the darkness, crying there, suffering there, moaning, wondering why your life is so hard. Or you have extreme experiences when you were given many, many chances, but you were delusional enough not to notice these opportunities, not to take them. And now the experience gets harder and harder and harder, so that you can notice that you are a spiritual being, that you can stop living in delusion. Delusional living means you're cut off from the higher reality, and you choose to stay that way. But nothing can be in an imbalanced state for a long time in this reality. And so your own soul, the higher reality, will teach you if you are in misalignment. And so your life will be a continuous bumpy road. If you go against creation, if you cause imbalance with your will, if you interfere with other people's lives, if you try to disturb their, existence one way or the other, again, you will reap what you sow. And you see, the delusion, the other aspect of the delusion and corruption of the soul is that we perform evil acts and we don't notice that somehow. And then when the consequences arrive, when the repercussions are there, you can't connect the dots. You can't assume a responsible position. An insane person avoids responsibility. An insane person is avoidant in general in life. Because to own the feeling means to own the corruption, to admit it. So how are you all delusional beings going to ascend, awaken, spiritually evolve? There is no way. Own the pain, own corruption, look within. It's ugly. You've accumulated it, you've participated, you contributed to it. So own it. Only then, when you own it, you say, yes, this is my pile of laundry that I am to wash. And so when you start working on yourself, you're not working by, oh, again, I have to look at that again. I'd rather go and get some, energy kick, some validation elsewhere. You are the promoters of delusion. You support delusional spirituality, and then you wonder why the world is corrupt. The world is corrupt because the seed of corruption is within the soul. And it just projects, manifests in the way we deal with life. Because if you all were awakened, aligned, spiritually evolved, really knowledgeable, your life would be the emanation of that peace, bliss, contentment, presence. But you're wannabes. So there are corrupt souls who can never ascend because they've assumed that superior position. They already know it. They're already better than someone else. And there are more or less humble souls who can say, yes, there is corruption. I can face it. I can deal with it. There are courageous souls who, no matter how many times they get put down, they rise up and see that this is an opportunity to be stronger, to be purer, to really prepare the foundation for a true ascension and evolution. And the wannabes can enjoy their insanity. People don't like the truth because the truth reveals their negativity. All they want is to live in the world of, self-created delusions and dreams. Positivity, greatness. Well, create your movements, create your delusional spirituality, and enjoy the insanity of the world. Keep on coming back and promoting the same delusion on and on, life after life. If you're truly looking for the spiritual knowledge, knowledge is not information. It is vibration. And you have to realize what prevents you from being that higher frequency and vibration. When you stick a pill in your tongue and think that because of the pill you are loving the whole world, or because you've just escaped into some, again, self-created delusion that you're living a spiritual life, you are but insane. The majority, 99.99999 to infinity, number of people are delusional, insane on a spiritual level. And then it transpires on the mental and emotional. And even if they are socially capable to maintain themselves in the hypocritical order, in the hypocritical balance, that has nothing to do with their, spiritual being. Their spiritual being is still corrupt. Those who have that authority to speak are only those who have actually gone through that tedious process of self-refinement, letting go, and they have not assumed any position. All they do is what they are. Then their being has credibility. They have been authorized from above. They have been authorized from above. Whoever is not authorized from above will suffer. This is the end of the cycle of delusion. And in the next 4 years, whoever assumed false position, false spiritual position, as position of a guru, a position of a teacher, a position of any kind on the spiritual level in an unauthorized way from true spiritually enlightened beings, are all gonna fall from grace, from their position. Everything they build, all this delusion that they spread, is a criminal, is a spiritual crime, is a criminal act on a spiritual level. And everyone will be punished by their own delusion. No one has time for such beings from above, but themselves, because the time, the frequency is changing. The time has come for them to face their own delusion. They've been spreading it for too long. They've been repeating the corrupt truths, the corrupt false information, feeding all these other corrupt souls with one and the same narrative. This narrative is over, and the truth will permeate. Everyone who spread delusion, who assumed position by themselves without truly being authorized by the higher realm, your fate is predetermined. You're done. Nothing will be left of you. Spiritual death is the highest punishment. Whoever that was, highest soul doesn't care whether the society creates a saint out of a clown, or creates a saint out of a magician, or creates a guru out of a false, corrupt pedophile. The soul doesn't care. Or if a guru uses past scriptures and promotes themselves, creates themselves names, the soul doesn't care. The rotten frequency of that soul, sooner or later, comes up, and their own darkness engulfs them. You don't like it, don't listen. The truth hurt. Because the truth is the only way to shatter the age of delusion. This is it. Kali Yuga is over. And whatever it's created, and whoever, by soul choice, decided to continue it, will be gone with it. And it's the majority. Thank you very much. I hope this video raised awareness. This is not to please anyone. This is to help whoever is there yet to hear that, to realize something very, very fundamental. Stop playing games. Stop living in delusion. Stop spreading delusion in the name of spirituality. There's nothing spiritual in everything you do or you are. Be spirituality. Only when you are higher frequency, light vibration, you don't even need to do anything or to say anything. But if you say, it will be sharp as a sword. The sword of truth destroys, dissolves darkness. Thank you.